So just like before, I'm starting with about a pound of clay. All right. Just like before, I'm going to knock the edges down and then knock it into round. But after that, when I go to pinch it into a bowl, I'm going to pitch it into sort of a rounder form. And then we'll pick up from there. Okay, now I've got the form more or less made. It's rounder, right, than the initial one. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to smooth the sides over, right? So I'm going to take these sides and I'm just going to smooth them out so that they're not as bumpy. This is where you can use your metal rib from your pack. Do be careful because the thing is very sharp. Don't slide your finger across it. You'll cut yourself. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it along the surface and get rid of all these little fingerprints, okay? There we go. I wasn't shooting for perfect. I just wanted to get the deep grooves off of it, right? As you can see, this has left a little bit of like clay schmutz on it. We can smooth some of that right down. You want to be careful when you use water. You don't want to overuse it because you can overhydrate the clay. But yeah, just smooth some of that down. There we go. Good. So now I'm actually going to add a little bit of flare, and I'm going to add my little feet to the bottom of this guy. So I'm going to set them up here out of the way. Then I'm going to add my feet. Okay, to add the feet, I'm going to take what was a pound of clay, and I'm actually going to cut it down again into a third, so I should have about a third of a pound, give or take. All right, I'm going to put that back in my bag. So I've got something about the size. I've got something about the size of a Snickers, like a really small Snickers bar. And I'm going to start off the same way I did with that, just by knocking the edges and the corners down. Okay, so once I have the edges and the corners knocked down, I kind of squeeze it into a candy bar shape, and now I'm going to roll it into a coil. I actually don't need that much. I'm going to take and break a little bit off and roll this into a coil. When you're rolling a coil, you do want to be careful not to get air pockets in it. All right. There we go. So I've got a nice coil, and I want it to taper, so I worked one end a little more than the other. I'm going to do that 2 more times. All right, when it's all said and done, you should have 3 kind of carrots, right? They kind of look like carrots, right? I'm going to pat them down, each one, and you'll notice that when I do that, they get a little wider, right? So this is the one that I patted down, and this is the one I haven't yet. You can see it's a little wider than it started out. It's because they flatten, right? I'm actually making them a little bit oblong. All right, I'm going to pull my little pot back here. And then for these, I'm going to take, let's see, do I want to put a texture on those? You know what, I think I'm good. For these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll them. I'm going to roll them up, right? Just going to add a little bit of water right here. Had a little production hiccup there. All right. I'm just going to roll them up. And they'll make kind of a little curlicue. See that? A little curlicue is what I'm going for. You do want to put a little water in there so that the curlicue sticks back on itself. Otherwise, it'll open up as it dries. You want to make them about the same size. All right, there we go. We got 3 little curlicues about the same size. Now this is where having those other 2 bits of equipment that were non-compulsory but are actually a good idea to have, the fettling knife, right? I'm going to cut these at a little bit of an angle. I'm going to cut them at a little bit of an angle so that they end up kind of at a 45. You see that? So each one of them is going to be cut about like that. They should all end up with a little bit of like a 45, maybe not exactly a 45 degree, but a little bit of a skew there. And then I'm going to take that serrated rib, right? It's the one that's got the teeth on the edges. If you don't have that, you can use a plastic fork or even a spork. And I'm just going to score the edges, score the edges, score the edges. And then I'm going to score me 3 spots on the base here. I'm going to score 1 here. I'm going to go around about a third, score 1 there, go around about a third, score 1 there. I'm going to add just a little bit of water. You don't want to overdo it on the water, right? So just a bit. And then I'm going to press and give these a little bit of a wiggle and a twist. You'll actually feel when the clay starts to stiffen up under your hands. That's actually where it's biting. And at that point, you know you've got a bond. If you just stick it on there, it'll lift right off. You want to make sure you twist it, give it a little bit of a twist until you feel the clay stiffening under the twist. And that's when you know that it's bonded. If you don't get that little bit of a stiff feeling under the, in your hand here while you're attaching the bit of clay, if it doesn't like start stiffening up on you, there we go. Right, now all I'm doing is I'm just working it back and forth. That lets me know that it's bonding. Right. So I'm pressing and I'm giving it just a little bit of a twist. Back and forth, there we go. I can feel it stiffening and biting down just a little bit. There we go. All right. Now, I'm doing a tripod for 2 reasons. 1, because it's relatively easy, and 2, because it is easy for a tripod to be balanced, right? If you do 4 legs, you're always going to have 1 that's short. If you do 5 legs, you'll have 2 that are short. If you do 2 legs, it's going to lean over. But 3 is the most stable form in the universe. And so I do 3 legs, right? There we go. Look at that little guy, right? So that's a good start. Now from here, I'm actually going to work on the surface and do some vine and tendril techniques, right? I'm going to add a little bit to the surface. I want you to add your own flair to the surface because I like Art Nouveau. I'm going to do some Art Nouveau stuff, but if you like something that's a little bit more Art Deco or something like that, feel free to do that. If you like sort of some Aztec designs, go with it, right? Use your own thing. Make it your own.